And it's a very challenging time. And the teacher actually asked me, and I wasn't 100% certain, but I was pretty certain that the way the governor has crafted his language around this was he's using it as a tool to essentially bring teachers to bear on termination eventually, correct? I mean, that's what he's doing to the profession. And she asked me if it was written as the board can seek to terminate a teacher, or will, or must seek to terminate a teacher. And I wasn't certain. I was pretty confident with her that it was a can. And I ended up having a conversation with Bob and Tony, actually, and I thought that's a very, very difficult situation that teachers are and any educator is existing under today. And you really have to feel bad for the profession as a whole. So I started thinking a little bit further about it, and the conversation that I had with her went on quite extensively about it, and you know how the flux in the system today is really causing a lot of problems. So I went a little further with Bob, and I asked, you know, what can we do to try and support the teacher to that end? And I took it rather far. Tony helped me to some extent, and I worked with Bob. I have actually crafted a resolution that I'm going to seek the board's indulgence tonight to see if we can agree to adopt as a special line, an amendment to the agenda.
So this would be an exception to the 24-hour rule?
Yes, I'd seek the board's indulgence to do that, and I think what I'm trying to accomplish here is to dispel the ambiguity that at least our teachers are probably operating under, or at least some of them, obviously not all of them, and clarify our position as a district on what the state of the nation is here in Levittown. So I'll read this to you because I don't have the luxury of putting it up on the monitor right now, but I have run this past legal, and legal has approved it. The administration and board of the Levittown School District stand in full support of its parents, teachers, and staff. In an era in which state policymakers believe the best course of action for evaluating the effectiveness of educators to be a rigid process that relies too heavily on the results of a single examination, the Board of Education hereby declares that it does not agree with this methodology, and it further directs the superintendent of schools not to use the scores derived from these examinations as the sole factor in movement to dismiss a teacher. And it further requests that New York State Board of Regents develop a fair weighting system for teacher evaluations that does not put undue emphasis on student test performance. And like I said, the reason behind this, and if we agree to move forward on adopting this, was to try and eliminate some of the ambiguity and fear that staff are possibly or probably operating under today. So, you know, I look to the remainder of the board if we can seek to add this as an agenda item tonight on tonight's agenda and vote on it. That's what I'm seeking.
So that would be added as agenda item number 17, please. First you have to waive the
we have to make a motion to waive the 24 hours.
Waive the 24-hour rule on both resolutions, on ELSA and on the resolution for testing. Scoring. Do you have a motion?
And 17.
Please second. Frank. Discussion?
So that was a motion for the waiver.
Right. Okay. All in favor? Okay. Now we're going to do number 17, which is going to be the resolution put forth. Now we're going to go to the resolution put forth by Mr. Powers. Want to read it again?
I don't think you have to.
Okay.
So read it again? Would you like to read it again, Mr. Powers?
I'll read it for you.
Yeah, why don't you?
I'll read it. The administration and the Board of the Levittown School District stands in full support of parents, teachers, and staff. In an era in which state policymakers believe that the best course of action for evaluating the effectiveness of educators is to be a rigid process that relies too heavily on the results of a single examination, The Board of Education hereby declares that it does not agree with this methodology, and it further directs the superintendent of schools not to use the scores derived from these examinations as the sole factor in moving to dismiss the teacher, and it further requests that the New York State Board of Regents develop a fair weighting system for teacher evaluations that does not put undue emphasis on student test performance. Do I have a motion? Ed, second. Mike, any discussion?
Madam President, I'd just like to make a comment. Although I'm in total agreement with the principle of this, I find it hard to believe as a board member that we would allow the administration to fire somebody based on one test result. I don't think I could sit here on a board and actually act on that happening. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. I totally agree with the principle behind it, but I don't see the necessity of it. But that's the board's choice. That's the board's choice.
I don't necessarily see the necessity of it, but I think it just makes a strong statement. Maybe that even for some people that aren't so clear on the way the system works, that it now is spelled out that this is something that we are standing behind, that one indicator is certainly not the method that a teacher should be evaluated on.
Absolutely.
So I think but I think it just clarifies it for us, and it makes a strong statement for the board. And
that's exactly it, and especially when you listen to the governor's rhetoric around this exact issue and where he's trying to take it is exactly this.
That's your first mistake, listening to the governor's rhetoric.
You know what? The only thing I can say is that that's all they have to listen to as well. And if I was sitting in their shoes, I'd be shaking in my boots.
Well spoken, well put, Mr. Faust.
okay, so any other discussion? All in favor? Okay, 6. Okay, now we have